All right, then we said that these are well-off peasant farmers who resent giving up their land. They burn crops. They are going to kill sheep, cattle, pigs, goats. Kulaks, good. What is the killing of the kulaks called? What is the killing of all enemies, whether real or imagined, called? Great purges, good. Then we talked about this fascist dictator of Italy. Mussolini, good. All right. Fascism, Italian political party that emphasizes what? Extreme nationalism. Glorified warfare. They oppose liberal democracy. Hostile to communism and socialism. Single party parliamentary politics or government, which basically just means what? It's a dictatorship. There can only be one. Yeah. Then we said that Nazism comes in and they add, so they believe in everything that the fascists believe in, but they add something. What do they add? Racism. And it's not just like racism against Jews. By the way, what is racism against Jews called? Anti-Semitism. Good. It's racism against like all people who aren't Aryan. Then we talked about Hitler's Rome-Berlin axis. Yeah? Okay. We talked about the Tripartite Pact. Tripartite Pact involved what three countries? Japan, Italy, Germany. We also said that Italy left the League of Nations. Why? Because of the brutal attack on Ethiopia. We said Japan. Did I tell you why Japan left? I did. Why did Japan leave? They attacked somebody. They attacked China. We talked about the rape of Nanking, right? Yeah, so that's why Japan left. Remember, FDR does not call rape of Nanking war. So they're still selling them weapons, despite we got that Neutrality Acts of 1935, 36, and 37. Cool. All right, then we said, we didn't talk about why Germany left yet, I don't think. Cool. What's the last thing in your notes? Appeasement. Okay. So you got Neville Chamberlain. You've got Lebensraum. What's Lebensraum? One more time. Hitler's call for living space. He wants land for all the German people to be united on. We talked about the fact that he takes possession of Austria in March of 1938. It's called the Anschluss, or the joining. Then we talked about the Munich Conference. We said that the Munich Conference was huge, right? Because we got Britain, France, and the Western Allies coming together to appease Hitler. They are trying to give him land or give him what he wants in an effort to avoid war at all costs, yeah? We can't afford war. Because what's going on the world stage? What are we dealing with? No. Before we hit World War II, what are we dealing with? The reason we can't afford a war. The Great Depression, yeah. So we can't afford it. All right, so we got the Munich Conference. We've got Neville Chamberlain. He's the person who's most associated with the appeasement policy. And again, it's just that idea of giving Hitler land because we are trying to avoid war at all costs. Problem is, Hitler's not going to stop. He's just going to want more and more land so he can fulfill his Lebensraum, or living space, dreams. So today we pick up in chapter 33 with Hitler's belligerency and U.S. neutrality. So August 1939, Stalin of the Soviet Union signs a non-aggression treaty with Hitler. So it's called the Nazi-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact. This is Hitler and Stalin's agreement not to attack one another. Nazi-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact. Hitler and Stalin's agreement not to attack one another. How's that going to turn out for him? Not good. Not good at all. Largely because after Hitler loses the Battle of Britain, guess who he attacks? Soviet Union, yeah. This Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact, the fact that they are agreeing in 1939 not to take up arms against one another, it's basically going to allow Hitler to attack Poland in September of 1939. Britain and France had previously warned Hitler that if he attacked Poland, they would intervene on Poland's behalf, so they are going to declare war. So Britain and France had previously warned Hitler that if he attacked Poland, they would intervene. So we get a declaration of war. So, lovies, what is the European start of World War II? The invasion of Poland, yeah. So European start of World War II equals invasion, the German invasion of Poland. What's the start of World War II? Not for us. The what? The Mukden incident, which was who? Japan and China. So World War II started off as an Asian conflict. You get that, right? Okay. All right, so Britain and France need American airplanes and weapons, but they can't purchase them because of the Neutrality Act of 1937. So Congress responds with the Neutrality Act of 1939. Neutrality Act of 1939 says European democracies can buy American weapons if they could pay cash and transport them on their own ships. This is called cash and carry. Hold on, transport them on their own ships. So, Neutrality Act 1939. So we had Neutrality Acts of 1935, 36, and 37 that said what? We can't sell weapons. The United States cannot sell weapons to who? Belligerents or anybody who might be aggressive. They're looking for a fight. But we get the Neutrality Act of 1939 that says European democracies can buy U.S. weapons if they can pay cash and transport them on their own ships. And again, this is called cash and carry. Do you see how our policy on war is evolving? So we went from complete isolationism, we are not selling you weapons regardless, as long as you're not like deemed in war. Because remember, rape of Nanking was a little brutal, right? You killed 400,000 Chinese people, you probably raped about 20,000 women, and FDR doesn't consider that a declaration of war. So they were still selling the Japanese weapons. So now we got this Neutrality Act that says you can pay cash and transport them on your own ships, cash and carry, we're good. So the whole point of cash and carry is that it is designed to help the U.S. avoid making loans. They're trying to avoid war debts. And because they're forcing the European democracies to carry the weapons on their own ships, we're also trying to protect from American loss of ships. Next up is the fall of France. When France falls to Hitler in June of 1949, the United States pretty much realizes that Great Britain is the only democracy left in Western Europe. So, France fell to Hitler in June 1940. U.S. realizes that Britain is like next. And if they fall, there will be no more democracies in Western Europe. So, I guarantee you on your book quiz, did you have a book quiz question that says something about why the United States get involved in the war? And it says something about, like, fall of France should have been your answer. Because fall of France is like their trigger. They're not necessarily fighting, but this is why, like, they recognize that this is a potential threat to American security. U.S. recognizes that this is a potential threat to U.S. security. Hold on. So the United States starts building air fleets, and Congress is going to pass a conscription law. And basically our conscription law is just like America's first peacetime draft. What's the Holocaust? Okay, so notice how, like, we've kind of been trained to associate the Holocaust with the killing of Jews. That's the bulk of people who are killed. But, like, a lot of times you hear historians say, like, the Jews have hijacked the Holocaust. And what they're saying is, it's not just Jews who are persecuted during the Holocaust. Like, the aspect of the Holocaust that's dedicated to Jews is called the final solution. And that is definitely Hitler's plan to murder all European Jews. So we know that on average, like 6 million Jews total are probably killed. But it's all sorts of people who are killed, like, during Hitler's attack or movement, I guess, throughout the world. So Nazi Germany's, we're going to put attempt to murder all European Jews. But it's not just Jews, right? This is anybody who Hitler has deemed undesirable. So we talked about this before. Hitler doesn't like lots of people. Hitler doesn't like the Roma. He doesn't like the Sinti. He doesn't like homosexuals. He doesn't like mentally challenged people. He doesn't like barren women. So, like, if you can't have kids, he doesn't like you either. He doesn't like black people. He doesn't like World War I amputees. Lovies, if you are a World War I amputee, what happened to your limb? It came off when? During war. Why is this problematic? What were you doing when you lost that limb one more time? Fighting for your country. And Hitler doesn't like you, so it's okay. It's logical, right? It's a defect. Doesn't matter how you got that defect. Doesn't matter that you were fighting for Germany when you lost that limb. Just matters that Hitler doesn't like you. What's up?
Weren't we putting Japanese people in concentration camps around the same time? Is this?
Facts. All facts. But these, so let's back up. They're not Japanese people. They are Japanese Americans. So the assumption would be, these are, like, it's not even an assumption. They are American citizens, yeah? Yeah, but yes, the United States is putting them in concentration camps because they have deemed them to be a threat to national security. It's a whole lawsuit. Is that in chapter 34? Cool. Okay. So I'll save that for like a few minutes and then I'll come back to it. Let's talk about Kristallnacht. So what is Kristallnacht? Yep. So this is November 9th, 1938. It's referred, like it translates to Night of the Broken Glass. So Kristallnacht, 11/9/1938, translates to Night of the Broken Glass. And it's called this because so many Jewish storefronts, homes, windows are burst. Like this is a pogrom. A pogrom just means like a coordinated mob attack. That's what Kristallnacht is. So it's a coordinated mob attack that's actually condoned by the government. Lots of Jews try to escape Hitler's persecution only to find that no one will accept them. So we have an example in May of 1939. We have about 900 Jewish refugees who board the St. Louis. This is a ship that's headed for Havana, Cuba. They are denied entry into Havana, Cuba. Logically, because what's next door to Cuba, people? Yeah, the United States. Like, what state in particular? Florida is right next door to Cuba. So, logically, they sailed to Miami, right? That makes sense. The United States is friendly. They're going to be turned away at Miami. They eventually sail to Canada. They're turned away too. They go to England, France, Belgium. They go to the Netherlands. Lots of them are going to die because Hitler and his like anti-Semitic policies are sweeping through Europe. Then the United States creates something called the War Refugee Board. This is like one of those agencies. It's created in 1944. What's the problem with this, happy people? 1944. This is over in 1945. Yeah? Okay. Slightly problematic. A little bit. Yeah. So, this is over in 1945. Created in 1944, nevertheless, though, and it's going to involve designed to rescue Jews from German-occupied territories. And you're supposed to provide relief to inmates in Nazi concentration camps. So we're going to rescue Jews from German-occupied territories and help inmates who are in Nazi concentration camps. Only about 150,000 German and Austrian Jews are given refuge in the United States, we've already said about 6 million are going to die during the Holocaust. And remember, like you just told me, at the same time that the United States is helping Jewish inmates in Nazi concentration camps, they're doing what in California? You taking a picture of my screen? Okay. What's going on same time in the United States? You're putting Japanese Americans in concentration camps. Does that seem hypocritical? Like maybe it's me. It seems a little hypocritical. Okay.
So is that why it only lasted for a year?
Hold on. Why? What happened?
You said it only lasted for a year. The War Refugee Board. It was.
The war is over in 1945.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that's why it only lasts a year. The war is done. Like 1945, August 9th, we're out. So this is like a little slightly late. And even with the creation of it, like we just said, like you got whole Japanese Americans, American citizens in concentration camps. Like you have taken these people's livelihood. You've taken their homes. Like they lost everything and you put them in a concentration camp. What's up?
Was that after or before Pearl Harbor?
This is after Pearl Harbor. But remember, like Pearl Harbor is what, 1941? This is one of those, they thought that even though they're Japanese American, even though they have established lives, like you're doctors, lawyers, like you own businesses, they felt like they were still a threat to American security. Like they're plotting on us with because of their Japanese ethnicity. So, I don't know. It's a little odd. The United States reacts like this, though. You're probably way too young, but right after September 11th, the United States kind of did the same thing. You had Muslims who had been in the United States, like whole communities of Muslims who had been in the United States for how long? Like, forever, yeah. And the United States, like, we all kind of, like, we started side-eyeing everybody who was veiled. Not kinda, you do, yeah. They made racial profiling like legal, and like black people. I remember black people were all in like all sorts of support of racial profiling. Problem with racial profiling that targets Muslims is that guess what naturally happens next, black people, after the Muslims are no longer the focus? It's legal to racially profile you. So, yeah, we had the Patriot Act. Like it was an interesting time to say the least. All right, so we got the War Refugee Board. Let's go to the Battle of Britain. All right, Battle of Britain, Germany is going to launch a massive air attack. So Germany launches a massive air attack. They use night bombing. So from June to September, they use night bombing. Night bombing is one of those weird things. Because normally at nighttime, you normally feel safe. What are you doing? Sleep. So night bombing, this is what, I keep reminding you of this. World War II is a coordinated attack on who? Civilian life. Like rape of Nanking. 400,000 people. Do you think that was all military in China? That's civilian. The women they raped, military, civilian. When we talk about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, guess what? Was that a military base? That's civilian life that's destroyed. Night bombing is definitely attacking civilians. Like this war, they are attacking civilians. And it's not just Germany. It's not like it's everybody. That's what they do. Britain is eventually going to win the Battle of Britain. And this is when Hitler turns against the Soviet Union. And we know he attacked Stalingrad. Election of 1940, your favorite president is back for a third term. Who's back? FDR. Refresh my memory. 1932, why was that election significant?
Because the blacks switched over.
Black people switched over to the Democratic Party. They had been with the quote-unquote Party of Lincoln, the Republican Party, since like Reconstruction, right? But because Republicans failed to respond to the needs of blacks during the Great Depression, they're going to switch over to the Democratic side. Cool. All right, so FDR just won a third term. 22nd Amendment says what? You get 2 terms. So no more FDR's, like, he does not set a precedent. Like, nobody else can do it. He's it. Why? Like, why did they give him a third presidency? People rarely change in the middle of a war. And I don't care how bad the president is. Not that he was a bad president, but they normally don't change. They feel like he's aware of the political climate and he's going to help us get things under control. Like even with like the war on terrorism, like we re-elected George Bush, W. And we know that wasn't going to work out well, but yeah. He wasn't the best president, but he's a really funny person. Like, dude is hilarious. His comedic timing is impeccable. Because, like, you don't know if is he that stupid or is he being funny? But he's really just being funny. He's hilarious. Cool. All right, let's talk about the Lend-Lease bill. So, FDR is going to create what's called the Lend-Lease bill, or he has Congress created. And Lend-Lease bill, again, we are shifting in our involvement in this war. So Lend-Lease bill is based on the motto of send sons, not guns. Oh, cool. Very good. Because sending sons would be bad, wouldn't it? Send guns, not sons. Very good. So Lend-Lease bill based on the motto, send guns, not sons. Guns, you don't really worry about losing. Sons, you kind of do. Very good. So this law, are we still neutral? We just abandoned neutrality, and this is going to allow the United States to sell unlimited supplies to any nation defending itself from the Axis powers. U.S. abandons neutrality. Can sell weapons, unlimited weapons, to anyone defending against the Axis powers. Hey people, after the Battle of Britain, who did Hitler attack? Soviet Union. So technically Soviet Union is defending themselves from who? Axis powers. The United States is going to sell the Soviet Union $11 billion in weapons. How, Sway? What's the problem with this?
Is that money we don't have?
We ain't worried about the money. What's the problem with $11 billion in weapons? Huh? What's getting ready to happen? What war? World War II, you're in that already. What's the Cold War? Soviet Union versus who? The United States. But what did I just do? I just sold you $11 billion worth of weapons. Very good, people. This isn't the only time that the United States does this, by the way. Like the whole Mujahideen in Afghanistan, same concept. But, all right, nevertheless, Lend-Lease bill, we're sending guns, not sons. It's an attempt, again, to keep the United States out of World War II. So they're selling weapons to anybody defending themselves against the Axis powers. Regardless of ideological differences, like prior to the Cold War, like during World War II, that the Soviet Union is what political ideology, what economic ideology? They are totalitarian, but keep going. They're definitely nationalistic. Keep going. Like I identified them. I said, yep, they're communists. So Italy's fascist, Soviet Union's communist, right? Cool. All right. Yep. Still gonna sell them. Cold War is right around the corner, happy people. Remember, the United States had been supplying Japan with huge shipments of steel, scrap iron, oil, aviation gasoline, all that good stuff. It's not until 1940 that the United States finally puts an embargo on Japanese-bound supplies. December 1941, Japan and the United States meet to negotiate. The U.S. is like, I need you to leave China alone. Japan says no. The United States found out that Japan was actually preparing to attack the United States, but they didn't think that they would attack Hawaii. Then we get December 7th, 1941, this is the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor is an American naval base, right? It destroys U.S. naval power in the Pacific. And this is going to officially bring the United States into World War II. All right, cool. So I'm going to save 34 for class on, what day is that? Thursday. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to review 31, 32, and 33 because your test is when? On the 9th, in a week. Cool. Next Tuesday. All right, cool. So let us review. If you like, as always, you may pull out your phones and actually record.